The final warning quest is live after you get all the fragments, and there's a lot to learn about this thing. I've seen all sides of the coin, front, edge, back. It's mid, it's OP, it's bad. Maybe you've had this, you've tried it, don't really know. I'm asking you to take a reset. Forget kind of what you know about it, and let's learn a couple things. It is great in PvE, a ton of interactions, and in the Crucible, it's actually wild. And it honestly has one of the highest learning curve skill gaps for a weapon that we've seen in a while. I'm fairly certain you aren't using it right. I haven't seen it used right. I'm going to show you how to use it because there's a very specific way you have to use it. And when you do that, you'll see the potential. Let's get started. After you get the fragments, small quest after. It's kind of fast. It's kind of fun, to be honest. Then you get Final Warning. It's a strand sidearm. It goes in that top kinetic slot. It has about 6 different ways that it works. Probably more. The stats are great. 88 aim assist. It fires kind of like Cryosthesia, Devil's Ruin. It has a hold feature. The intrinsic exotic perk is all at once. Holding down the trigger marks targets within range and loads multiple bullets. These bullets fire with increased stability when you release that trigger, and hitting a marked target with a fully charged burst will unravel them. So first off, the mark distance is 25 meters. That goes into the exotic trait, pick your poison. Hip firing. Projectiles will track marked targets, dealing increased body shot damage on impact. While aiming down sights, the projectiles have greatly increased velocity and deal extra critical hit damage to marked targets. So we have a charged sidearm. Holding down the trigger with the release, we have ADS, hip fire damage, we have marked damage. It fires like a 450 RPM auto rifle, which isn't good because you have to press every single time to get a bullet out. When we first saw it was 450 RPM, we thought that it was going to be a burst. It is not. It is single fire with a charge. In the end, that's going to be a last resort to actually tap the button. 99% of the time, you're going to be holding down the trigger, then releasing. Besides, you get bonus damage to those bullets if the target is marked. That's what you want to be doing. More on that later. To see the percentage bump in PvE, base precision damage 10,129, base body is 7,225. That's just tap firing it, the last resort method. When you hold down the trigger, we have the perk come up on the screen all at once. It charges up. Once full, it's going to release, fire out 10 bullets. And remember, on that release, you do have increased stability. Hitting a target with a fully charged burst will unravel them, so that's going for it too. So when you do hold down the trigger, mark the target, the critical damage goes to 20,257, body damage to 8,670. So in that hold release with the mark, the base crit goes to 2 times damage. Body is 20% more body damage. Let's get into PvE. Altogether, Final Warning is an ad clear monster, really good with Strand. We have 4 main ways to use it. Regular tap fire for the head and body, hold down the trigger for the head and body. Ideally, this is pure ad clear, and you're going to want to be doing that from the hip. And remember, hitting that marked target with a full charge will unravel. We have allied unraveling for the artifact. Rapid final blows with a strand weapon will grant your weapon unraveling rounds, which last a longer duration near allies. We also have orbs of power, getting woven mail going, getting the kit going. But when it comes to aiming down sights, that function, sure, you can use it on single target damage. You should, when it applies. Not the best, not the worst, but 2 times damage on anything is no joke. Not to mention maybe a strand surge. It should be used while aiming down sights, but that's not the main way. The main way is just to hold down the trigger, mark multiple targets, let the round seek and destroy. You start using the whole kit of unravel, tangles, suspend. Literally just walking around, looking at things, marking them, releasing the trigger. The exotic does the rest. Best use is ad clear, hold the trigger, mark them, release it. When a major comes up, yellow bar, ADS on them, release. But use it as ad clear and hip fire mostly. Now, I want to jump ship to the Crucible, how to use it. A lot of players are hung up on the charge time. Don't worry about that. Trust. You saw the title. Maybe you think that you were baited. You weren't. First thing in the Crucible, as a last resort, tap fire this thing. It does base 32 to the head. You have to fire each bullet individually. It's got a 0.8 TTK. That's a no-go. That is a last resort. But 3 important things to know and follow. Number 1, know the mark system. This translates to PvE as well. There are 2 phases for the mark system. At first, it highlights. This does not mean mark at all. There's a split second that goes by after you mark that the diamond turns fully red. When it's fully red, this is the mark, and this is the bonus damage. The second thing you need to know, you do not have to hold the entire 1 second charge time. You can only hold that for a split second, or spaced out. A different number of bullets are going to come out with the all-at-once perk. We do have 4/4 of it. Yes, if you hold it the entire time, all 10 bullets come out. If you hold it 3/4 of the time, 7 or 8. Middle, 5 or 6. Just a little bit, 3 to 5. And the third thing, this thing plays like a bow. So when I say, wait, it's a bow? No, not in the literal sense. It plays like a bow. So what do you do with a bow? Think about that for a second. Think Oathkeepers or not. You're in hip fire. If Oathkeepers are on, you're just holding the trigger, right? Holding the draw. When your target comes up, you aim down sights and release. Otherwise, you want the perfect draw, right? Targets are getting close. You hold it, double swap, hold it, double swap. You want to get that perfect draw. This sidearm does the exact same thing. So when you take those three things all together, number one, you need a full red mark. Number two, you can release it well before the 1 second charge time. Three, you use it like a bow and hip fire while you're charging it. So instead of holding the full 1 second, trying to deal the bonus damage, you're gonna have a bad time. Instead, when you put all those things that we know together, it's gonna look like this. All you're doing is waiting for the diamond to fully turn red. Once it does, release the trigger. Doesn't matter where you're at in the hold time or the charge time. It's nowhere near the 1 second. With the perk active, it deals 71 to the crit. That's a 0.26 TTK with a 3-bullet kill. It deals 32 to the body. And yeah, there is a hold and release. A lot of people think about it as Devil's Ruin, like a fusion rifle. It is not. You're running it like a bow. As a target gets close, you're charging. Keep them center of your screen. The moment that diamond turns fully red, release it. Do not think of it as a 1 second charge time. It is not. Instead, the whole goal of this weapon in the Crucible, the only thing that matters is the time that you're holding the trigger for the diamond to go from highlighting to marking. That's it. That's the charge time. It is nowhere near a full second. The only charging that matters is from this point to this point. Once it goes fully red, start aiming at the crit, release the trigger, 71s. It does take a second to get used to. It's not like Devil's Ruin. It's not like a fusion rifle. And Devil's Ruin does have the 1 second charge time. It will shoot the beam once it comes out. Then you have to reload. With this one, it fires the 10 shots, or 5 or 6, if you released it a little bit earlier, as you should be doing. Afterwards, you're going to have anywhere from 10 to 14 to 15 bullets to maybe get back in cover to do it again, or as a cleanup. And that's when you want to start tap firing it. That's how that should be used. So I get what people are saying about this, on how it could be OP. Yeah, the 0.26, the 71 per crits is extremely strong. I see how people can say that it's bad or it's mid. Like, I don't want to do a 1 second charge time. Like, yeah, you don't. If you're doing that, you're going to have a bad time. Important note before I forget, I find myself holding the trigger a lot, pre-charging. Instead of switching, you're going to hold the trigger and you sprint to deactivate it. So you can wait for an enemy, charging, sprint, not theirs, charge, release, once the red mark comes up. Also in PvP, strand reload and targeting is great. Targeting especially. ADS speed, you get aim assist with that. You're going to be going in and out of hipfire, aim down sights, and the reloader is going to be good too. And to really show the difference, like, look at the time here. What everyone's doing, holding the trigger, releasing, and in PvP, that's just a way to go right back to spawn. It'll work sometimes, but it doesn't work well at all. Opposed to, as soon as you see something on your screen, acquire them, make the mark go all the way to red. Once it is, release. Or even better, already have it pre-charging. As soon as they come in the screen, start tracking. When it turns red, you get the time down to start aiming down sights, then release it. That's the TTK. That's how it should be used. Also, one thing, a little tip. As you're holding down the trigger, waiting for the mark to turn red. Once it does turn red, it stays there for a little bit. Meaning you could go behind a box, shoot it over the box, or maybe over a barricade, and the shots will seek out. Or maybe you're by cover, maybe you have to disengage. If that mark is still up, you can come out and not hold the trigger. Since they're still marked, you can do the tap fire, and it'll do the 71s. I've tried it various ways. I had a really tough time at the start. Very tough time, as it looks like most others did. I tried aiming down sights first to acquire, waiting for the mark to happen. I mean, that can work instead of being in hip fire, but I started looking at it from like a 1,000-foot view. It is best to always keep it at the hip. Keep your field of view open, you're strafe fast, hold down the trigger to pre-charge, tracking them the whole time, wait for it. Once red, ADS release, just like a bow. Has a learning curve, a little bit of a skill gap, but it's one of those things that melts. Once you get the hang of it, you're gonna see it perform, I promise. Same goes for PvE too, right? Wait for the red full mark, release. You don't have to wait the entire charge time. Maybe there's only 2 or 3 lower tier ads. Hold the trigger, mark both of them real quick. As soon as both are red, release. It's gonna send 4, 5, 6 bullets. That should down them. All in all, I think that this thing is great. I do. PvE, a lot of fun. Great ad clear, a lot of synergy with Strand, getting Unravel going, and for the Crucible, I highly recommend you take it to a custom game with a friend or go to a PvE area like right here. PvE in general. Get used to the timing of acquiring, marking, releasing. Do that first. Get that feel on how it should be performed. I think it's pretty good in the Crucible. Once you get the hang of it, of course. Time's gonna tell. If you're new here, remember to hit the subscribe button. And if you are subscribed, thank you so much for your support. If you like the video, go ahead and leave a like. Let's talk about Final Warning down below. What are your thoughts on it? Thank you for watching, and until the next one, I am CoolGuy.